name is Shane Agersheth, and I'm the chairperson of this ad hoc committee for Parkland Preservation. In attendance tonight, we have committee member Councilwoman Mary Teicholz, and we have our petitioner William Montgomery, along with our corporation counsel Robert Yeaman, and our director of planning for the city of Danbury, Dennis Elper. I'd like to open up this meeting by just going back to the last meeting we had and reviewing the motion that was made at the last meeting, as this is a continuation from the meeting before, where Councilwoman Teicholz made a motion to continue the meeting so that Corporation Council can investigate conservation easements and any other appropriate method or methods of protection to preserve our parkland and open space, with initial focus on Terrywell Park, including a feasibility study with associated costs of conservation easement and implementation. And with that, if I could have, I don't know who would like to start. Maybe have.
I can.
Sure.
Lead on.
I'd like to.
With your permission.
Absolutely.
In effect, we kind of turned this over to the able hands of our planning director, right? To my boss. And actually, he jumped right on this and produced an action plan with several options. And the intermediate option, if you will, would be a fairly substantial revision of Article 5 of the Code of Ordinance, which is the article which deals with Terrywell. And he also drafted some substantial recommended changes which aren't really ready to be disseminated yet. But that would go far toward accomplishing what we want to accomplish, which is to effect greater protection of our parkland, especially the jewel in the system, which is Terrywell. Of course, by definition, this would only apply to Terrywell. This is just
This is the Code of Ordinances, correct? Article 5 in the Code of Ordinances.
well, these are Dennis's, right?
No, I mean, is that what you're talking about, the revision?
Oh, yes. Yeah, Article 5 is the portion of the ordinances that deals with
Okay, thank you.
Terrywell. Now, obviously, none of this would preclude, further actions or other actions, which, have been discussed in the course of this whole process. But we could accomplish this fairly expeditiously. Then obviously we have to go through the ordinance adoption process.
Right. And then the public hearing as well.
Public hearing and so forth.
Any questions?
This is really just a synopsis of what would be the rewriting of Article 5.
Could you just kind of go through this and explain it just a little bit? Because we're kind of thrown in the middle, so.
Sure.
Thank you.
Through the chair, perhaps I could turn over just an explanation of that, Dennis, the synopsis to the committee.
First, it makes it clear that the master plan would be adopted by the authority. Right now, it says they would prepare it and then it would, they prepare it and they would send it on to council for action. Right now, the way the ordinance is written, it doesn't really make reference to Terrawell Park Authority being involved in preparing a master plan. Of course, they had prepared a master plan. They did submit it to council and it was adopted. So that just clarifies that role. Now, the acquisition, purchase, sale, lease, or the conveyance of land would require a public hearing, as it would in all other cases. Prior to the hearing of the proposal, it would have to be referred to the Planning Commission again, as in all other cases, but also to the Conservation Commission, who, if you read the code, has rather broad responsibilities when it comes to public lands. And the Land Trust for review and comment. Right now, there's no reference in the code
For
for
either of
referral
those.
to
Right.
either one.
Right.
Now, the acquisition of the land would require a simple majority vote by council, and the sale, lease, or other conveyance would require 2/3, as I believe it does for all land. Adoption or amendment of the master plan by council would require a public hearing. All proposals to amend the plan not made by the authority would have to be referred to the authority and the planning commission prior to public hearing. A negative recommendation by either body would require a 2/3 vote by council for approval. Projects must be consistent with the plan of conservation and development unless otherwise approved by the planning commission. And there was a provision with CGS, I think, that makes reference to that. And then there are some mandatory language to it's section 13A-50 in Article 5, which discusses Terrawell Park Authority. Some of it's just cleanup stuff, but others go on fairly extensively under the, and you don't have this, but under powers and responsibilities, the authority, we included the power to prepare a master plan, and then they go into what that would include. And then the powers and responsibilities reserved for city council would include under the acquisition, purchase, sale, lease, or other conveyance of lands. It says that, as I had mentioned, be pursuant to a public hearing, any proposed acquisition, purchase, sale, lease, or other conveyance would be referred to the Planning Commission and also to the Conservation Commission and the Land Trust of Danbury at least 35 days prior to a public hearing for review and comment. Additional acquisitions of land for Terrawell would require a majority vote of council, and any sale or lease requires 2/3. And then I added a third section which said that a revision of the master plan shall be pursuant to a public hearing, except that all proposals that were made by or generated by city council for the amendment or revision of the master plan that were not made by the authority would be referred to them in the planning commission 35 days prior to a public hearing for review and recommendation. And as I had mentioned before, negative recommendation by either would require a 2/3 vote by city council for approval. Those are the major points. What that does is it increases the, what's the term, transparency of city government for changes to the master plan and for any purchase or sale of land, and gives others a role in commenting on that activity. Namely the Conservation Commission and the Land Trust.
Any other questions?
Don't think so.
I have a question for Corporation Counsel. On this particular option, as far as the actual document for the changes of this ordinance, do you have it drafted?
Well, Dennis drafted these revisions, but we really, you know, we have to really finalize them before we can, I guess we'd have to bring it back to the committee for one quick final look, see, and then get the process moving to adoption as soon as possible.
Gotcha.
You know, one of the things we want to do is perhaps even further tighten things up before we present it to you and then, you know, to the council and the public. But, you know, I'd rather present a final version of the discussion draft.
Gotcha.
And then in that draft, you'll have, so we can see what it was and what it's going to be.
Yeah, it'll be redlined.
Yeah, or
you-
underlined and got
See,
it. Yeah, like we usually see in
yeah,
ordinances.
what you usually see
Got
in
it.
changes.
Okay, good, good.
All right. Any questions by Mr. Montgomery?
I think it's good. Maybe I missed something, but it appears there were at least 3 options, and this is the recommended option, your recommendation as you're making to the
I only gave 3 options. I went from one extreme to the other. The first would be to grant the land trust an easement over Cherrywell. We discussed that briefly. Basically, it would appear that City Council will be giving up their authority, ultimate authority over Cherrywell Park. Pardon me, but I didn't see that happen. I might be wrong, but I would have been surprised if City Council said, sure, we'll give up our authority over sale or purchase of lands or operations in any form or fashion to any degree over Cherrywell. The last one was the do nothing approach, or as I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That one recognizes that historically the lands of Cherrywell have not been sold, leased, or otherwise conveyed to another property or party, and that conservation's been an overriding goal and operation policy of the authority. However, I have to point out that in the 90s there was a serious proposal to convey the castle to a private organization to open up a children's museum. Now, that fell through, but that would not get comfort from for those who are concerned about such a thing ever happening in the future.
So, that's a good case in point, and I just want to be clear on this. Option 2, which you presented this evening, would hinder or eliminate a proposal like the castle going, becoming a children's museum.
No.
Make it more difficult.
Right, it would
It
hinder.
would require a greater amount of, for the public hearing,
Right.
other parties to come in and to specifically be invited to come and speak prior to consideration by council, which is not in the code right now. Now, there are some other things you could do. You can combine all the lots. Right now, Terrywell has quite a few different subdivided lots that have been cobbled together. You can combine them together. It's a lot line revision, it's a simple thing to do. It just makes it more difficult to carve out a piece, because you gotta go through a subdivision. Okay, it's not saying that you can't do it, but it's a little more difficult. Secondly, you could zone all the property RA80. Right now, some of the land, not most of it, but just some of the land, particularly along Southern Boulevard and Mountainville Road, is zoned RA20. Now, those are both residential zones, but RA20 allows for greater densities. That's something, and that could make it less appealing to someone looking to develop. Now, this is hypothetical, but I could see maybe someone would like to build housing along Mountainville Road. Probably not the best place since there's wetlands all along there, but nonetheless, it makes it more attractive for that. And third, you could revise the plan of conservation development to strengthen its linkage to the Cherwell Park master plan.
In effect, I alluded to these last sort of ancillary actions, and when I mentioned that, we want to get something accomplished, but that doesn't preclude exploring some of these other options.
Gotcha.
We want to get something accomplished that we know we actually get enacted.
These last three ones would be separate actions, of course, than amending the code.
And some of those actions, actually, I'd have to think about them, but we may have the ability to just do some of these.
Well, yeah, we could regardless, but
You know,
given the situation that we're in, it would be interesting to hear your comments on those as well.
But everything costs money. I have to feel like I have to throw that caveat out. That's
Well, the combining the lots is a minor expense by our office, so rezoning, that would be our petition to the zoning commission. And revising the plan of conservation development, that's on my to-do list anyway.
Gotcha.
I just one little thing about the article thing that you had given us about refer to planning commission, the conservation commission, and the land trust for review and comment. Could we just make sure it's for written comment? Because it would be good for the council to see everything. Get like an opinion instead of, I mean, it's fine if everyone comes up in public hearing, but it's always good if we have a written comment, just a suggestion.
In the final version.
Right, when you get to the final, I mean, I know this is just a rough draft, I'm just,
Well, it's not that rough, but,
No, it's-
yeah, you could say that, and that
I
would
mean, that
not,
kinda goes
but that
without
would
saying.
not preclude people from speaking.
Yeah.
exactly, that's what, because we have the public hearing, but it's just always nice for the council to have everything in writing and be
Yeah.
able to,
Now,
know, like, we always get our reports from the planning commission. It'd be good to get reports from the other commissions.
Yeah, well, you would get, of course, a written report from planning. Yeah, and you should, for the record, have written reports from conservation
Right,
and from the
land trust. Can that verbiage put in there?
I just made a note.
Oh, you did?
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Sure. In some of the previous meetings, and I have to look at my notes to recall who said what, there was a distinction made between acquisition, for example, and use. And some of the comments were, you know, we're really not talking about acquisition and sale and, you know, those are taken care of other ways. We're talking about use. And so, for example, you know, some of the things that have been talked about really actively in recent years are other city use of the property, like, for example, build a firehouse. And I don't remember, well, at one time there was a golf course, you know, considered a city golf course. And I don't remember these being talked about, but I guess other possibilities are, you know, a school, a municipal garage, and so forth. And I guess it's not clear how option 2 would provide any added layer of protection to other city use other than passive recreation.
Okay, when I discussed master plan for the park, that would be prepared by the authority. It reads to prepare a master plan and amendments thereto for consideration by city council as provided for herein. For the use and development of Cherry Wild Park, said plan to designate conservation, construction, demolition, extension, renovation, or substantial improvement, excluding routine maintenance of all structures, lands, lakes, ponds, and water courses, conservation areas, park and recreational facilities, public utilities, roads, trails, and walkways, and other public facilities of the park. All improvements to structures shall be compatible with the historic nature and character of the property. That would be a plan prepared by the authority. Now, I think one needs to understand that ultimately, city council could break off land and build a facility. The question is, how much light do you want to shine on that before such action is taken? You may find sometime in the future that that action is perfectly reasonable. You have a 700 plus acre park. To break off an acre may not, particularly for a facility that you may think is, at the time, is critical to the health and safety of the community. You may find that that is perfectly justifiable. So, what I'm trying to say and do here is to say, I don't want to preclude that from ever happening, because I just don't know what the circumstances would be
Nobody knows.
5, 10, 20, 50 years from now. But I do want to say that there should be a process that one has to go through to get that decision. That it can't be an arbitrary, capricious, or unreasonable decision. That it requires thought and consideration. So that's what I was aiming at.
I'm sure Dennis and I could in finalizing this, could, you know, focus on the use issue as opposed to, you know, conveyance and possibly strengthen the language a little bit in that direction. But it is in effect covered.
Yeah,
Um,
and understand.
I mean, it's a good point. You know, you could change, adversely change the character of the park without actually selling or paying,
Oh,
and which is Bill's concern.
Well, the city wouldn't even sell it.
Right.
We wouldn't sell land to ourselves.
Well, right, but I mean, the use, you could change it.
I'm sure your brother would tell us it's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
And a foolish thing to
Yeah.
do. So, yes, can it happen? Sure. But what should be the process that one goes through to arrive at that determination? And I think the older I get, that process is crucial to arriving at good decisions.
I do have another question.
Sure.
It says drafting a master plan and amendments thereto for consideration by city council will be the responsibility of the authority. So how does this work procedurally? Because it says here that the authority has to write the amendment to the master plan.
You can propose your own amendment. Third one down there, council can make a proposal to amend the plan itself, but that has to be referred then to the authority for consideration. And is that likely to happen? Probably not. But if it did, then you want to certainly bring the authority in and get their feedback on it, and I think the planning commission as well, to get their input.
But aren't these revisions ultimately, aren't they amendments to the master plan?
Yes, well, amendments can be made by either the authority or by the council. I mean, ultimately, I should say, any amendment has to be approved by council.
But it's an amendment to the code of ordinances, and then there's an
No,
amendment
to
to the master
plan. To the master plan.
These code.
That's what I'm trying to
These
figure out.
code amendments aren't amendments to the master.
They're not?
No.
Okay, so the code amendments are amendments to an ordinance, correct?
Right.
Okay,
And they
and
deal
then,
with,
then is there a second phase to that then, where the master plan would also have to be amended?
No.
no,
No.
the code just recognizes who amends it and how it gets amended.
That was my question.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to, my thought was this: if let's say a city council wanted to amend the plan to provide for a facility, that I think the proper procedure on this is that after you go through all the referrals, that the master plan should then be amended to reflect reality. In the
That's what
end.
I'm asking.
All right, in the end. Not what somebody wishes didn't happen.
But we're not, we're not dealing with the master plan at all right now, except to the extent that it's referred to in some of Dennis's suggested language changes to the code of ordinances, so.
That's what I was getting confused.
Yeah, I can see.
Any other questions?
I didn't-
No.
No, I'm good.
No? Okay, go ahead.
Make one more comment?
Sure.
You all know from all the sources around the country we've contacted over the last 4 years that the recommendation for the highest level of protection is essentially option one. The only thing I disagree with somewhat is the thought that the council would be turning over control because, without going through all the language again in a word, what is in a conservation easement is what, it is an extraordinarily flexible document, and what's in it is what the parties agreed to be in. We work with the Taylors and the city on that one. We have a couple easements conveyed to the land trust from the Ruffles Farms up in West King Street, and they were worked on months and months and months to get the exact language. So that, I guess that's the only thing I would disagree with somewhat, is that the council would be turning over the control. They wouldn't turn it over to the control unless they wrote in the document that that's what they were doing. What would be in, what is in a conservation easement is what the parties agreed to be in there to protect the land.
Maybe I overstated that. I'll read it from this report, which Corporation Council has. I guess it's protected. The drafting of the details governing conservation easements can be quite flexible, as you pointed out in our previous meeting, depending on local circumstances. For example, an easement affecting Terrywell Park could grant the land trust veto power over any of the following proposed developments of the park. All development proposals not included in the adopted 2004 Terrywell Park Master Plan, or future amendments to the plan affecting the use or development of the park, or the sale, lease, or the conveyance of lands and property within the park. I didn't have much guidance as to what would be included, so I tried to speculate the kinds of things that might be, and then react to that. And regardless of whether it's one or all, City Council would be giving up certain powers that they currently have on a whole. And forgive me if I'm wrong, but I just speculated that they wouldn't want to do that. Now, I might be wrong. In which case-
I strongly agree with the second part.
Okay. That I might be wrong?
No, that the common council, I'm sorry, the city council will not want to do that.
Yeah, we kind of explored that informally.
So that being the case, then I thought, well, what could be done? And which led me to option 2, which is for written referral and discussion prior to further consideration by council, which I didn't think the city council would have any problems with. You know, the planning commission and the zoning commission, like city council, holds hearings all the time, and sometimes you learn things, and it might be valuable.
All right. Any other questions? No, I think, I mean, personally, I agree. I like this option, but I mean, there's, like you said, there's some things that need to be fine-tuned. It certainly would add more protection than we currently have. I mean, to me it sounds pretty, obviously I know you put a lot of thought into it, and we've been working on this for quite some time, trying to figure out what the best resolution would be for this particular piece of property. So yeah, I mean, based on the outline here, it seems like you've covered pretty much all contingencies here in different areas, and adding things like having written reports from the land trust and from the conservation commission, I think would certainly be an added benefit. Of course, the public hearing is going to be there anyway. The 2/3 vote is already in place, but like I said, this is just some extra precautionary measures to
And it's always possible that you advertise a public hearing, but Bill didn't hear about it. He was on vacation or didn't read the public notices in the newspaper. Why he wouldn't, I don't know. I'm sure you read them all every day. or the Conservation Commission. Now, the Planning Commission is notified,
Right.
because we're required to be notified. But, so this makes sure that they're
Notified.
notified, they have an opportunity to consider and respond.
Well, I like it, but what do you think?
Well, I'm ready for a motion.
Sure.
You are. Let me see if I get it right. A motion, I guess, to authorize, to ask Corporation Counsel and Director of Planning to work together in order to put together revisions for Article 5 dealing with Terry Weil in the Code of Ordinances. More with,
Well, the only thing I would add through the chair would be
adding,
toward the goal of,
Outlined in options, yeah.
toward the goal.
toward the goal to protect
Protect
and preserve our
the
parkland and
legacy,
open space.
Something like that. So it's not just revisions,
Right.
with a specific goal in mind.
Okay, I'll second the motion.
Did you get it out?
I think so.
Okay.
I'll take whatever
Well,
you have.
well, I don't have anything written down, obviously.
This is going to be a continuation then? or is
Yes,
this not?
to come back to the ad hoc committee with the
Yeah,
revised ordinance
hopefully.
soon.
Probably speaking really out of line, but the language that been used a lot of times the last couple of years, adding a layer of protection to
Right.
Cherry Park.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That would be
Yeah, and option 2, proposed revisions to the Danbury Code, adding a layer of protection to the Terry Weil Park.
Which is, of course, what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay, you second that?
Mhm.
Any discussion on the motion? No? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions, any nays? No? Motion passes unanimously.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll try and get together,
I'm hoping next week. I'm going to Boston tomorrow, to say hello to Earl.
Well, that's gonna be fun.
Order is O602. I'd like to introduce the committee. My name is Robert Riley. I'm the chairperson, Cosquin Cola. To my immediate left, we have Corporation Counsel Edwards. We have Permits Center Director Mr. Hardy. We have Planning. We have Mr. Alpern, and we have the petitioner Halburner. And I would just like to state that the meeting tonight is to discuss the Scenic Rd Way Improvement, which is on 168 Long Ridge Road. And if I could, Sean, would you be willing to speak first to the issue?
Well, I mean, just probably summarize the actions that the reason why this took place. If the applicant would do that, that'd be great.
Sure. I own a home on 168 Long Ridge Road that has a driveway, which is abutted by stone walls to the north and south.
We saw that.
And I don't think I'll even need reference to any exhibits or maps. It's pretty simple. I renovated the home last year in 2009, going into 2010. In 2010, I hired George Hendrick, who is a stonemason, to improve the driveway because there were issues about it running too close to a propane tank and other safety issues that I was concerned about.
Correct.
The driveway naturally flowed down to the end of the driveway, which is why we're all here. George obtained a permit from the town of Danbury, as far as I'm aware, I've never heard anything contrary to that, to repair the driveway and indeed to do work at the end of the road. It came to my attention only after George finished the work that in repairing it, he had turned to the north and south of the foot of the driveway were ancient stone walls that had been there as retaining walls.
Correct.
In order to do the work, George had to take the stone walls apart, repair the ground underneath them so they wouldn't fall down, and prepare it for a new asphalt surface, which he did. He then put the walls back in a way that I'll characterize, let's say, better than they were before. They're neater, they're properly stacked up. Before it looked like a pile of rocks, now it looks like a wall. A very low wall. It doesn't block any vehicular view. And I was informed shortly after this work was completed that this required, perhaps, I don't know if it's a variance or an additional permit, but it required some official sanction to have the work done. I then went to, I think it's Mr. Hardy, and we discussed it, and we agreed that the work might be retroactively permitted, but we needed to have this meeting, which is why I'm here.
Yes, and I appreciate that statement, and as far as I understand it, certainly it improved the area, but again, if I might have Mr. Hardy just give his insights to the issue.
Yeah, I totally agree with the applicant on this. There was some work done before on the house, some improvements done, and the driveway itself did have permission to actually construct the road work. Whether it was, regardless of who did it, the wall was extended out past the area, going to a telephone pole on the right-of-way, and also on the southern side of the driveway. It's a further encroachment into the city's right-of-way, so it did trick the requirements for approval for the Scenic Roadway. So with an overlaying of maps and discussions with our applicant, he was amenable to come in. We held off any actions. We released a CO in his house as long as the application came into the city clerk or legislative assistant. And here we are now for our hearing based on the procedures. The highway inspector doesn't have an issue with it, and me as zoning officer, I don't have an issue with it. I will defer to Director Elpern as far as the reports from the commission.
Sure, certainly.
Well, the Plan Commissioner has no problem with this. If I may, this is why people dislike government. This is a really small matter, and it's taking up a lot of people's time and effort. And I think all we really need to do is sign the necessary paperwork. You may want to have, in the encouragement agreement, you may want to have indemnification on holding the city harmless. But other than that, let's go.
Yeah, Mr.
And-
Wiley, if I can just add, I mean, be
Please.
this as it may, it does fall within the right-of-way on a scenic road. And we have a scenic road ordinance, which, as you members of the council know, has a very long list of procedures that have to be followed if anything is to be done on a scenic road. I think last year we had a person who asked for permission to put a driveway in. And what I would just recommend procedurally, if you're inclined to go ahead and approve or recommend that the council approve the work that Mr. Heilbronner has done afterwards, after doing the work, is that you send it back to the council with that recommendation. The council will then have to refer this matter to a public hearing only because that's what the ordinance requires. So if you're so inclined to do that, just like anyone else, as both Dennis and Sean have mentioned, in the city who does work in a right-of-way, we have to receive what's known as an encroachment agreement signed with proper insurance provided to the city, naming the city as additional insured to indemnify the city, God forbid something should happen. And then you have the other component where I think work is he's requesting permission to do work in the future, and that's something that the planning report says, we don't necessarily object to it, but at this time we feel it's not appropriate to sanction that work. Wait until if and when that work needs to be done, and please follow the procedure at that time.
Right.
So if you're so inclined, it would really be three areas that you would need to
Sure.
address and going back to the council.
And thank you very much for your comments.
Oh, you're
And
welcome.
I would just say also that certainly what you did was commendable in terms of why you wanted to do it. Again, procedurally, I mean, these issues come up, and as far as I understand, it's not a terrible thing, but what I would say in the future, that let's say if you were going to address the southern side, I think that it would behoove you to make sure that before you would do anything with the southern side of that scenic area, that you would certainly come before the powers to be and just make sure that you follow step 1 through step 2, and so there would be no issue down the line. But other than that, I certainly agree that it was certainly you in your heart only doing what is best for the property and the city. So with that being said, we could entertain a motion regarding this issue.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the council approve the improvements and alterations made to the stone wall and the bank in the right-of-way on the northern side of the driveway at 168 Longridge Road.
Subject to an encroachment agreement?
I'm sorry?
Subject to an encroachment agreement.
Yeah, he's still got a few more.
Oh, I've got 2 more motions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's,
It's 3 more.
yes. 2,
Keep going?
please.
Okay. Do we have to vote on the first one?
No.
Okay. Second motion is to recommend that the council require the homeowners to execute an encroachment agreement acceptable to the corporation council for the improvements made in the right-of-way.
So I would vote on those 2 motions at this point, and then
Oh,
if you have another
all
motion,
right.
you can vote on that.
So your recommendation is to vote on item 1 and 2.
Right, because they're sort of, they're
They're a little
similarly
bit separate.
related, so you can vote on both of those at this point.
So you make a I'll second that. I'll second the motion for item 1 and 2. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Third motion, to recommend that the council does not approve the request to improve and alter the stone wall in the right-of-way of Long Ridge Road, on the southern side of the driveway at 168 Long Ridge Road. If the homeowners wish to make the improvements in the future, a request with detailed plans should be submitted at that time.
May I speak to that for one moment?
Just a minute.
Or is it out of order?
It would be out of order because at this time, when we, the committee, when we make the motion and I second the motion, which I'm doing, at that time, there's no, other than discussion between us, it's over. And so maybe I could, I second the motion, and maybe I could address that a little bit again in discussion, is that in all fairness to the petitioner down the line, we're not saying that you can't do it. All we're saying is that down the line, when you see fit to go ahead with the southern side or whatever you're going to do, we just ask you to follow the procedures. And with that being said, that's it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And
Opposed?
nobody in the negative, so could we ask for a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. And that's it.
I have to quickly put in my footnote about the future. I don't have any plans for doing anything except that the wall itself is an ancient retaining wall that's starting to bulge out, and I'm going to have to fix it. That's all.
And I'm sort of reading in between lines, but under the rules of Robert's rules, once that we hit this stage, it's sort of dead in the.
I understand.
But
I've dealt with Robert's rules. I'm the
yeah,
president of
but
the
there's no problem down the line. We're not saying anything. We're just saying you got it.